So here's an example of that. This was a school in New York City, and this plan was what the city of New York asked us to do. Now this is after I left New York City, so now I had more of an influence in saying no. So we said, no, this doesn't make any sense. It's a bunch of rooms around a corridor, and this is this historic building just three blocks from ground zero. And the reason they were building this was to show the world that New York City was now back in business. So we said no way to do that. So this is what they wanted it to look like. Instead, we took all the corridors out. We created, unfortunately, we still had to create classrooms because New York City, there's only so far you could push the bureaucracy there. But they did let us make odd-shaped rooms so you can have nooks and crannies and collaborative space and soft seating and all of that. And then all the space in the middle, we configured to all these different modes of learning. And this is what the space looks like. And it was done in 17 weeks, planning, design, and construction. And it was done for half the price of a traditional New York City school. So what I'm saying is that even in New York City, you can do stuff like this. So clearly you guys should have no problem at all. Now another challenge was, this is actually an example from Australia, and I'm showing you these non-traditional buildings because if you end up getting a school, it will probably be in a non-traditional space, which is a great thing. Now this is a gymnasium, and we were asked by the principal of the school, okay, I'll let you experiment with this space. Do me this 21st century teaching and learning space in this space, and if it works, then we'll let you design our new middle school. So we said, fine, we'll take this. And this gymnasium actually overlooks this beautiful valley. So we put in an Einstein studio. We put in a cafe. We put in lecture theaters. We put in small group areas, large group areas. As I said, cafes, small seminar rooms. We went crazy doing all the stuff that we knew was going to work on the ground. And we had a second level. We made a cutout because we wanted the two levels to be able to talk to each other. We didn't want them to be two separate communities. We didn't have any connection to each other. And this is what it looks like. And they took 4 months to build this. And it cost almost nothing. And most of the furniture you see in this, now except the soft seats, all the hard furniture you see here was actually built by the students in a carpentry shop they established just for the sake of doing this building. They called a master carpenter in who worked with the students, built the furniture. So again, just to give you a contrast between this and this, the same building, how we transformed it. So this is what we feel is below the line architecture, where our words and our actions are in sync. Because otherwise, we give them a cheap plastic chair, we put them in a room that is, as I said, less square foot than a high security prison, and then we say we want our kids to be successful and personalized and all of that. It doesn't mean anything. We have to put our money where our mouth is, so to speak. In this case, we didn't have to even put much money there, as I said. This was actually very inexpensive because the basic building was already there. And as you can see, we built very few walls. And this was the teacher's office. And the teachers complained that, oh, they don't want to come out and break up fights. And we don't want to be like fishbowl, in a fishbowl. And we said, well, guess what? There are not going to be any fights in the place. If you give this kind of environment to kids, probably there won't be any fights. And sure enough, the school psychologist reported just a few months after this building opened that she's getting no visits anymore. I mean, kids are happier, naturally, because you're treating them with respect. And this was the cafe. When I took this picture, the thing was still under construction. And this is a process of what we call educational commissioning, where we are training the teachers on how to use the new space. Because obviously none of these teachers have ever taught in a building that looks like this. Now they have the opportunity to do all kinds of things that they could not do before. They could work as a team, they could do project-based learning, they could do hands-on stuff, they could do peer tutoring, and all this other stuff that they couldn't do before. So now we were teaching them how to make lessons much more exciting, much more interdisciplinary, and workable. And so of course we did get the middle school contract, and we were designing the middle school, and here are some images of what the middle school looks like. So in Tasmania there's a curriculum which you need to think about, and the curriculum is focused on thinking. Because if you are going to look at the future, then the currency of the future is going to be thinking, and becoming very strategic about thinking. Thinking is a very important part of our learning process. And what we do, thinking is often the kinds of things that happens in the cracks between life, right? I mean, it's the kind of stuff that happens when we are rushing to something and then we have a couple of minutes and then we might think about something. But what we're saying is that thinking has to be given prominence as an absolute critical life skill. And kids have to be taught all the tools that they can employ to become good strategic thinkers. And Tasmania is actually building an entire curriculum around thinking at its core. So I want to end with this elevator story. And basically what it is this idea that there was this real estate developer in New York, I think it was in New York, who had bought this very expensive building but wasn't getting enough rent out of it. And the reason was that the elevators were taking too long. Actually elevators were taking 2 minutes to get up from the bottom level to the top level. And apparently there's some research that shows that people are only willing to wait 20 seconds for an elevator. It was actually taking 22 minutes for the elevator to come down. So people often had to sit and stand and wait and wait. So they did a lot of studies, and they found that, well, they would have to put either more cabs, they would have to put maybe high-tech equipment. But even with the most high-tech equipment, the most they could do was bring the wait time down to 1 minute. And the next solution would be millions of dollars more expensive. But 1 minute was no good because it was 3 times longer than most people are willing to wait. So the guy was pulling his hair out, not knowing what to do. And somebody who had absolutely no knowledge of elevators and no knowledge of technology or engineering said, I have a solution for you. And he said, well, what do you want me to do? He said, put mirrors in the lobby, and elevator lobby. And he said, well, what's that going to do? He said, trust me, it's going to work. And that's what he did. He put mirrors and no complaints. People love it because apparently when you can look at yourself and look at other people, the 1 minute just flies by. and people are, that's not exactly, people are actually doing that now. Now you'll see a lot of mirrors in elevator lobbies because it allows developers to actually put in a couple of less elevators, save a little bit of money, and people don't complain. So what's the big deal? There's no problem with it. The reason I'm saying this is that most of the solutions to problems in the future are going to come from non-traditional places. We keep looking, if you're an architect, we keep looking for solutions in buildings. If you're a psychologist, you keep looking for solutions in that science. But what we're saying is that solutions to your problems are often going to be in fields that you didn't have any idea. People found how to feed microorganisms that they wanted to grow in labs by taking the same technology that they used to build computer chips. Because the circuits are so tiny, you could send food through them to feed microorganisms as they grew into human parts, like ears and nose or whatever it is. So what we're saying is that the future professions are all massively integrated and massively interdisciplinary. And for that to be successful, we have to start that early. We have to start that in school. We have to model that behavior in the way we develop our communities. We have to become more connected once again. And we kind of have to go back in many ways. In fact, many new developments are being called TNDs, traditional neighborhood developments. What that meant is in the traditional neighborhood, a grandma sat out in the stoop and watched kids play, and you didn't have to worry because you knew the kids were safe. But everybody's now retreated into their homes and with their cars and with their own backyards and stuff like that, and now that is broken down, that sense of community. We need to recreate that, and I think that with the opportunity that you have at the school, this is a wonderful opportunity to sort of showcase Key Biscayne for being much more than a island paradise, but actually showcase it because it's taken a leadership role as a forefront of what education in the 21st century can truly look like. And guess what? It has all these other benefits of increasing your home prices, making your community a safer place, and making it a happier place, which ultimately is what we all want anyway. So with that, I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to explain an assignment for all of you to do. Before I do that, I'll take like 1 or 2 questions if you have any, but you're going to have enough opportunity to talk anyway, so